just, I can't even believe that actually happened, and that my mom survived it, and that her siblings, her 3 children, survived it. So that's a very touchy subject. It's a very painful subject, but it's something that continues to go on in society, and we need to do more as far as bringing it to the forefront, and public service announcement, exposure, educating people about the seriousness of domestic violence.
Okay, when you, as a child, went through something as far as seeing your mother being abused by your father, how did you handle that as a child? And how far along did it go?
There was one particular incident that I write about in my book when I was in the 2nd or 3rd grade, when my father had knocked my mother down in the floor in the kitchen, and blood was coming out of the corner of her mouth, and she began to scream and cry and asked me to go get June, which is her brother, my Uncle June. He lived at the end of the apartment complex, he and his wife. And my father put his foot over her head and threatened to crush her skull if I ran out of the door to go get help for my mom. And so then he demanded that I go back in my bedroom, and I just cried, and I ran in the bedroom, and I just felt tormented because I was helpless. I was absolutely helpless. I was too afraid of him. And so what can you do other than just lay in the bed and cry and hope that your mother survived another round of domestic violence?
Said, I am Carolyn Mobley. I am a professional motivational speaker, a professional poet, a mentor, and the president of the Women's Professional Group. That group was established in Florida, and I've been the president of that group for about 10 years. And now that I'm here in Charlotte, I'm reaching out to all the other female groups, sisterhood, things like that, to not reestablish if the wheel is already rolling. I just want to join what's already been established here.
Okay. I know one of the topics that you want to discuss is abuse. Tell us a little bit about why you selected that topic.
Because I come from a background of abuse myself. And the ladies group in Florida allowed me a chance to talk to a lot of ladies, mentor a lot of ladies. And these ladies had some issues in day-to-day life due to the abuse they had early on. Abuse is something that's very, very, very severe, very serious, and it's an epidemic. It really and truly won't allow you to be all that you can be as a woman, a professional, a Christian, if you do not attack those issues early on.
Okay, I know you say abuse, but what type of abuse did you have to deal with?
Physical abuse from my mom, mental abuse from my mom. And whenever I had the chance to mentor some of these ladies, I noticed that they were kind of withdrawn, a little shame. And as I got in depth with these ladies and got really to the core of the problem, it was abuse. And that's what really and truly at that time caused me to go into the abuse subject more often. People don't want to talk about it. They don't want to let the world know that Carolyn Mobley, has been abused. But the message is in the abuse, because you can help so many people unlock the inner demon. And that's exactly what it is.
Okay, Carolyn, when did the abuse start from your mother?
Well, actually, it started when she was pregnant with me. My grandmother told me prior to her death, she's since passed on. My mom had an affair with another man, not my father, of course, at the time, and she conceived me. And she really never wanted the pregnancy, so she tried all kinds of things to execute the pregnancy, and that never worked. So whenever I was born, due to all the things she was trying to do to prevent me, Carolyn Mobley, from coming into the world, I was born 1 pound in MUSC Hospital in Charleston. And thereafter that, of course, I was a tiny, tiny thing, but I always knew that I had a purpose here in life. So become a little girl and things like that, I noticed she would treat me a tad bit different from the other siblings. It's a total of 6 of us, 3 girls and 3 boys. So right at an early age.
Marilyn Sanders Brown. I'm a native Charlestonian. I grew up on James Island, attended what was then Fort Johnson High School, graduated, joined the military, did 8 years in the United States Army, married, 4 children, 5 grandchildren, worked for the Al Cannon Detention Center for 17 years, took an early retirement after getting hurt on the job, and I started writing. And my first book is Reflections of Life.
Okay, we're going to go through all the different areas of your life, but first of all, Reflection of Life. Why did you select this as a title of your book?
After getting hurt, I had a lot of time to sit at home, and I started really watching the news and what was going on in the world, and I started writing about what I saw, and boy, did I see a lot. That's a lot.
What did you, as far as, some of the things, what would you consider to be one of the first things that you've seen that you basically...
The Dylann Roof trial, the Manual 9 shooting. I was actually still working at the jail when Dylann Roof was arrested, and I had very little interaction with him, but the interaction that I did have, it was scary. He showed no remorse, and I just started wondering, how could someone so young be so full of such hate and evilness? And I got hurt shortly thereafter. I was on workers' comp for almost 2 years, and then I took an early retirement. So once I retired, I started really watching the news, and they were going through, I believe it was the trial, when they were apologizing to him and he wouldn't even look at them. And I was sitting down one day and I asked myself, why does Satan hate us so? Why is the world so evil? And the answers started coming to me. So I sat down and I wrote a poem titled Satan and Man. And after that, it was Reflections of Life. Just about any topic that's on the news today, I have a poem for it.
I know there's a place called Centenary, Charleston family that you have. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's the church I attend, Centenary United Methodist Church. It's at 60 Wentworth Street, downtown Charleston. Reverend Lorenzo Moses is the pastor. And we have a small congregation, so they're like family. And anything that you do, they really throw themselves behind you and they support you. And that's what they did with me. I was a Women's Day speaker there. I think it was in 16. And I spoke about the number of women being incarcerated in jail, with most of them having drug addictions and also being mothers. And I spoke about it and I wrote a poem about it. And it's called Can I Rise? And they really support me. Good congregation, good preaching. You should visit. It's really nice.
Giselle.
Oh, I'm the author of Perfect Imperfection. I'm also starting to work with the homeless and the unemployed here in the Charlotte area as well. I'm also a part of the Poor People's Campaign. It's a movement to help out the pretty much the homeless and the unemployed in the city and surrounding areas.
So you're a very busy young lady.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Your book. What inspired you to want to write this book?
Oh, God. Actually, what inspired me to want to write is when I actually heard my best friend.
Okay.
His name is Steve Harvey. He don't know it yet, though.
Oh, okay.
That's my best friend. When I heard his story, it sort of inspired me because of his hardships and his, turmoils that he went through as he was coming up to be, what he is today. Mm-hmm. And that really inspired me, that he just kept going forward and moving forward with his dreams and goals. And that pretty much inspired me to want to write. I was like, if he can do it, I can do it too.
Okay.
And so it sort of pretty much inspired me from what I heard from his story, and I can relate to like a lot on many levels, from the Steve Harvey story that I heard.
So what would you want the readers to get out of your book?
What I would want the readers to get out of my book is to know that no one or nothing is perfect. That goes for anyone. We live in a society right now where your mistakes are magnified, and it's so hard to be perfect. So I just want my people to get, when they read this book, that nothing is perfect, nothing you do, is perfect. You have to just live life and make sense of it.
Correct.
For me, I'm created, through my God, and if He can love me through all my imperfections and my flaws, I just feel like, I'm just a perfectly imperfected person. I was created perfectly imperfected.
Okay, so that's where you got the title from.
Pretty much, because I'm a perfectly imperfected person. I'm created perfectly, and the things that I do is imperfected.
So where are you headed at as an author today? Because that's something that I see that a lot of people are getting into, so where does Alicia?
For me, it wasn't like a start out thing to like be an author. I actually wanted to like be in the medical field.
Okay.
But I guess God took me another direction. But at the end of the day, it's still all sort of coming together as I think about it now. But for me being an author and moving forward, I do have a couple of more books in me. I guess starting with this one. I want to piggyback off this one. I have another book that I want to come out with, pretty much what I'm doing and how I am in my life today, versus my past. And then two, I have another situation that I just went through a couple of years ago that I would like to write about.
Okay.
And that was my car accident. So as an author, I look at everything moving forward, and I look for more greatness to come from, from writing.
Pastor
I'm
Alexander.
doing great. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. I'm
Awesome.
Oh. So
Awesome.
tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Wow. Well, which camera am I looking in? This,
Oh,
whatever camera. Okay. I am Ollie, Ollie Alexander. I'm from South Carolina, native or Lancaster, South Carolina, that is. I am a mother of 2 sons. I have 5 grandchildren. I have a ministry in Lancaster called New Life International Ministries. I minister by traveling nationwide. Also, I minister abroad as well in Africa, places like Kenya, Mombasa, Ghana, West Africa. But my main thing that I love doing is ministering to people, to help people. That's what I love doing.
what is it about ministering to people that you like?
That I really like.
Yes, ma'am.
I love change. I like to see people prosper and be successful, be the people that God has made each of us to be. When I minister to people, young people, older people, and to see how God is just changing their lives for purpose and destiny, that excites me. I get really excited about that.
Okay, awesome. Okay, you're an author. You have a book. Are you in love or in lust?
Yes.
How long have you been an author, first of all?
I published a book back in 1986 for a lady that is 90 years old. I also authored the book for her. I also published another book, a mini book, which is the manuscript is soon to be released. It's called God's Master Plan. It's through Jesus Christ. So I would say probably for several years I have authored a mini book and a book for a good friend of mine. So now I have this book that I am, this is just one actually. This
Okay.
is the first series of Are You in Love or in Lust? The first series out of this manuscript. The others will be coming out hopefully in 2018. So right now I'm promoting this particular book, Are You in Love or in Lust?
Pastor Alexander, the audience probably want to know, how did you come up with this title? Are you in love or in lust?
Well, it is very simple, really, because we hear people talking about love so often. I love ice cream. I love candy. And many people that say that they're in love, because I counsel quite often many people, and I find out that a lot of people that believe that they're in love Sometimes it's just lust, because I know according to the Word of God, they said love can never fail. And what God joins together, he said, let no man put asunder. So as we see in the epidemic, there's so many marriages breaking up, families coming apart, divorces. I realize that many people that believe that they're in love, perhaps are not. So then I began to do a study on love and lust. And when the Bible talks about lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. So two different type loves that I deal with one is called agape love. Agape love is the God kind of love, is unconditional love. It is a love that never fails. It's a selfless love, agape love. It is not about being emotional, this type of love. This type of love, agape, is doing what is right to help other people. The other type of love is called eros. Eros is exotic, exciting, passionate. It deals with sexuality. And this is what I've found when I'm talking to people, and a lot of people that's planning to get married, engaged, and etc. Most of the time they're talking emotionally about the eros. Eros takes you on cloud nine. But as I notice people in counseling them, that most people do not stay on cloud nine. They eventually come back down to reality, family, bills, and the life happens, as I call it, and it doesn't sustain people. So the difference is agape love is a God kind of love that can never fail. And when you love the agape type of love, it's not about getting so emotional. It's about doing what is right for others. I call it the type of love where you give. You give of yourself, you give of whatever you have to people that you love. The eros is a bit selfish, but we need it because everything God made is good. God made everything, including our sexuality, including all the different types of love. God made it. But I found that when we don't follow the instructions of God, this is when we get in trouble. And I wanted to write the book to help people, those that are married and also single people that's getting involved in relationships, believing that they are in love, but perhaps just in lust.
How can an individual tell when their partner is in love?
Well, first of all, you have to have a relationship with God, and God is love. Nobody can, you can't even love yourself without first accepting the love of God. And with that love, who is God, that's how we love ourselves and we love God. With that same measure of love that we receive from God, we love ourselves, we love God, and we love our neighbors. So how do we know whether or not we are in love? Well, God has a manual, and that manual is called the Book of Life. And everything God made, He made it good, and He put it in His manual for us to follow. So if I were to talk about being in love, then I need to know God. I need to know God as love. He's not a man, He's spirit, and He is love, and He's giving, and He's kind. Love is patient, and love is kind. So usually, can I take us on a little journey?
Go ahead, man.
Okay.
Go ahead. This is your show. Go ahead.
The journey is this. You notice when two people meet, we call it flirtation. It's a flirtation if you see somebody that you like, you're interested in.
Smalls, how you doing, man?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. You're
Awesome.
an author, motivational speaker, you're a cook, you're a producer of a show, The Tracy Smalls Show. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself, Miss Smalls.
Well, as he's mentioned, I'm an author, did not mention motivational speaker.
God, I forgot about that. Tell me.
But yes, I'm a motivational speaker. I enjoy cooking. I do have a cook show.
Okay.
A cooking show on YouTube and Facebook. I just freestyle and prepare to people what I think they want. And Tuesday nights, Taco Tuesday nights, and Fridays, I just kind of freestyle a little bit and try to put some little things together here and there and just prepare it for the audience and see how they like it. And so far, great reviews.
What made you get into being an author, writing your books?
Well, never in my life I thought that I would be an author. But through the challenging times in my life, I decided if I'm feeling this way from the things that have happened in my life, how many more people may be dealing and going with the same thing? So I decided to write, to encourage, inspire, and motivate others to share my story. And that's what took me there. But never in my wildest dreams did I think I would ever be writing books. But I enjoy it.
Your first book. Tell us a little bit about that first book that Tracy Smalls put into our lives.
Well, the first book is Overcoming Destructive Relationships. And I believe in everything there's a starting point to everything. And for me, that book resonated with me as far as the title because there were a lot of things that I missed as a child. And growing up into adolescence and then an adult, it really had affected me negatively, the things that I encountered as a child and never really discussed it and talk about it with anyone. I felt, let me put it on paper. Number one, it was therapeutic for me because I was able to write out what I was experiencing and what I was feeling. But the marriage that I was in actually brought it out of me. It brought it out of me because I realized in that relationship I accepted a lot of things because I didn't know how to handle it because I didn't have those tools as a child. So I figured, let me write this book and share it with others.
How would you describe a perfect relationship?
I don't necessarily think that there's a perfect relationship. However, I do believe that God has created someone just for me or just for you. I do believe that. But perfect, I think that would be putting too much pressure on an individual because I don't think anyone is necessarily perfect. But I do believe that communication is key. It is key.
Okay, communication. If there is a lack of communication, what would that create in a relationship?
Oh, total mayhem. If you're not a great communicator and you're saying something and I'm receiving it in a different way or another individual is receiving it in a different way, you could say something and my perception of what you're saying could be completely different. So what happens? It causes a breakdown in the relationship because it's like, I didn't tell her that, but that's what I may have heard. So instead of assuming, go back, let's talk about it all over again. Let's revisit this thing to determine why is there a breakdown in this relationship? What's going on? Why are you feeling this way towards me? Because you feel the energy of folks. You know, a lot of times your body language, your action says more than your mouth could ever say. So I do believe, in my experience and in my opinion, communication is key.
Who do you feel are better communicators, men or women?
Well, I'd say women. I would say a woman because we enjoy talking. We like sharing. We like expressing ourselves and getting out what we're feeling. Whereas on the other hand, men seems to be a little bit more quiet and reserved when it comes down to communicating and expressing themselves. So, yeah, I do believe that women, I like to talk and just being around women and talking to women in my circle, we enjoy talking. We talk about, I tried, explaining this to my husband, or I tried explaining this to my significant other, but he kind of just shut it off and said, we'll be okay. No, we're not going to be okay. We need to talk this thing through. So women, I'd say we're better communicators.
I know on one of the movies, Jack Nicholson said, you cannot handle the truth. Do you feel that sometimes women can't handle the truth?
I do believe that. I often explain to women, don't ask questions that you're not ready to have an answer for. Because if you ask a question, you got to be ready to do something with it, especially if it's something that's going to hurt you. You got to be ready for that. So, in my experience, I could speak for myself. Yes, sometimes we want to know the truth, but when it hits us, we just cannot handle it.
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't written a poem about this year per se. I have a poem titled The Making of America, and it talks about slavery right from the beginning right on up. I have a poem about Donald Trump. I have a poem about the shootings. But this year here, I would have to start with, tell me what you see. Tell me what you're hearing. Are you listening? Are you really knowing what the signs of the times are? Because I feel that not only should we be looking at what's going on as far as race relationships, we need to look at the bigger picture. We really need to look at the bigger picture. I don't think God is too pleased with us. And to be honest with you, I don't think we're going back to normal. I think this is the new norm, and we're just going to have to deal with it as it comes. It may not get any better. It really may not.
What advice would you give those people that's watching us who want to write a book? What type of advice would you give them?
Do it. If you really have something that you want to say, do it. It's therapeutic. And even if you don't do it for profit, if you don't ever publish it per se, write it for yourself. I started writing not to write a book, but more or less as therapy, because when I was working at the jail, we worked 12.25-hour days. Sometimes you would work 3 or 4 days straight before you would get a day off. And I was just busy, busy, busy. And then after I got hurt, I found myself like, okay, what am I going to do today? Go to physical therapy, come back home. What else is there to do? So I started, after I caught up on things I've been wanting to do and didn't have the time to do and got all my little projects and stuff done, I found myself with a lot of time on my hands. And writing was therapeutic for me. It was only supposed to be for me to start off with. It wasn't ever supposed to be for a book. But that's what it turned into.